And this is the championship weekend recap show. And I see a lot of haters out there, not only in the square that I'm working in, but also, and I say square because for the people who can't see it on the podcast, we're on Zoom and I'm looking at the other panelists on the show. And before we get going, let's just introduce those panelists. Coming all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, needs no introduction. Diddy, Percy, P. Lee Jones, Percy Lee Jones. What up, Percy?
What's going on, fellas? What's going on? What a weekend we had of football, man.
Yeah, man, it was a one that I will definitely remember for the rest of my life. Also coming in from Dallas, Texas, esteemed colleague and guest, Mr. Ryan Lillis. Ryan, what up, man?
Boy, it's like 20 degrees outside here in Dallas, and the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. It looks like hell's
Wait, can you say
frozen
that one
over.
more? Can you say that one more time, please? Just repeat that one more time, please.
It is 20 degrees outside, and the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl, and it looks like hell has frozen over.
Yes, 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 it has, especially for you Cowboy fans. And then also joining the show, the Eagle hater himself, the non-believer himself, the only person to pick against the spread every single time that the Eagles were playing in the playoffs, Mr. Corey Wilson. Corey,
hey,
how you
what's
doing?
up, fellas, man? I want to get it started. Lots of highs and lows this weekend for me personally, I think, and for the NFL. We'll talk about it.
Interesting take. I mean, I would definitely think it's a high that the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl, but we will start there. Why not just start there? Let's have some fun. The Philadelphia Eagles, the best team in the league, the winners of the NFC East division this year, the winners of the NFC conference in the regular season, the team that had the best record in the league, have beaten the San Francisco 49ers 31-8, not only covering the 2.5 spread that they were given, but also beating them pretty handily, and they are on their way to the Super Bowl. Some quick stats for you for the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, you guys know I'm an Eagles fan, but I'm going to try to keep my analyst hat on today. In the 2 games that they played in the playoffs this year in the NFC, they won from a combined score of 68-14. That was over the New York Giants and the San Francisco 49ers. First thing that we'll talk about here is just, disappointing for the NFL and disappointing for Brock Purdy. We never, even though that I'm an Eagles fan, we never want to see anybody get hurt. We want to see the best players play on the field and win. So we're going to go to Percy Lee first. Percy, San Francisco took a beating here, but they lost their quarterback on the first drive. How did you feel about the game and how the Eagles played overall?
Look, man, like you said, that was very unfortunate. You tune into that weekend and you expect to see 2 good games, but once that happened, the game was pretty much over not too long after that. Look, man, Eagles are the real deal, man. There's nothing you can say, man. It's like the defensive line, the way they make substitutions and bring them in there. That guy Hassan Reddick, he is playing lights out. Your secondary, Rob, all you Eagles fans out there. One of my good friends, Bob Turner, man. I remember in July we were trying to pick how many games the Eagles would pick, and I mean everything that man said about your Eagles, I got to give him props for, man. Your secondary, your D line, I mean even your linebackers, they're like your O line. With injuries, they're like, okay, so what? I'm playing. And I say it all the time, Corey. If you can run that pill, man, I'm a firm believer. If you can run that rock, we all know the run sets up the pass. It's not the other way around. So
I saw something, Percy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think our team, including the playoff games, scored more rushing touchdowns than any team of all time. It was close.
I mean, so I don't want to say finally, but finally someone gets it. Offense coordinator gets it, man. You run the ball, and you happen to have a quarterback that can run the ball as well if you need him to. So I mean, I expect to see the same type things. We'll get in that later, but the Eagles are the real deal. And once the quarterback went out, and I believe Purdy threw 2 screen passes the rest of the game, it was over. Like when Johnson came in, it was over as soon as Johnson got on the field. The game was over. And when you guys went from 7-0 to 21-7, it was like, okay, let's get the broad streak, let's get the dancing.
So give Purdy some props though, coming back in with actually we found out later after the game that he had a complete UCL tear. It needs Tommy John surgery. That does take he's gonna be out for 6 months, but that does take some heart to be able to come back into that game, because I know there was a lot of people out there saying, well, if he can come back after we took Josh Johnson out of the game with the concussion protocol, then why wouldn't he have come back before then? That was just pure will and heart. I mean, he couldn't throw the ball down the field. He had a complete UCL tear, needs Tommy John surgery. He's going to be out 6 months. Ryan, what did you think about the game?
I didn't foresee this the way the game going. I didn't see, losing Brock Purdy for the game, but that's a very significant injury. And that injury does sometimes end baseball careers. So you really got to take that seriously. I didn't think they would put him back out there with that kind of injury, but they did. So props to Brock Purdy. I think he's a fighter. I don't think he's the best quarterback in the league by any means, but it shows you that he's just, no matter what, I'll hand the ball off. I mean, you can't throw it with that kind of injury at all. So, glad he got some experience in the playoffs, but the lights were a little too bright anyway, in my opinion. I like what Philly's doing, man. They're the real deal. Hassan Reddick played like a man possessed, as Percy mentioned earlier. He was all over the field. I think he was the best player on that side of the ball for you guys, hands down. I don't think it was even close.
Quick stat for you, Ryan, here to on your point is he was in the game for 14 passing rushes. So he got the rush 14 times. He had 3 pressures, 2 sacks, a fumble recovery, and a forced fumble. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, that's just going after the football and being relentless. That's what you're supposed to do. And but that's not really why. I think they forced a lot of turnovers, which they forced 3 fumbles, which the 49ers lost all of them, including the one that injured Purdy. That was the difference in the game. And also uncharacteristic penalties on the defensive side of the football. I thought, they had 11 penalties for almost 100 yards. And when you're playing an offense that is diverse as Phillies is, you can't give them extra downs. And also one of those penalties is a 4th and 10 on a punt. You can't do it. You can't have it at this stage of this league. You can't have that. And that's I know they tried to lean on Christian McCaffrey, but you can't lean on one guy to win you the game. And as soon as Purdy was gone, it was just hard to ask Josh Johnson to come in there and expect him to move the ball against this defense. And, I thought he actually did pretty well. I thought he did pretty well until obviously got the concussion, but Eagles are clearly the better team in this one, and more discipline on defense. And I think the penalties and the turnovers were the difference in the football game, as much as we want to talk about Brock Purdy. But the Eagles just execute better, and they are a more disciplined football team.
Josh Johnson was 7 for 13 for 74 yards. He had 2 sacks, but it's unrealistic to ask for. I mean, it's unfair for him to be judged at all on this game. So it's not right. Corey?
Man, I'm just disappointed. It's the most disappointing game that I've ever seen in my life, actually. This had the potential of being a NFC championship legendary game, with the play calling of Shanahan going against that Philly D, and the playmaking ability of Jalen Hurts going against the San Francisco D. Man, I had my popcorn ready, and it just turned out to be such a dud. It reminded me sort of like a UFC or a boxing match when the fighter gets cut in the first round and can't continue, or he gets poked in the eye and you really don't get to see the game itself. Because, I want to agree with you a little bit, Ryan, and say I thought at first the lights could have been too bright, but man, I don't know. Because he was 4 for 4 for 23 yards, and I think it would have been a closer game than we think, and I'm just disappointed in that. One thing, though, I think this might have changed the landscape of the NFL. I think Robert and I were speaking on this earlier as far as how many quarterbacks can dress.
Yeah.
They may just start dressing 3 quarterbacks, instead of 2, typically what they do. And I think they should have been dressing 3 all along, actually. I'm surprised nothing like this has ever happened before.
Yeah, adding to your point, Corey, adding the concussion protocol to the game, and when we see Josh Johnson go down and the back of his head hit the back of the ground, it's like, oop, automatically you're in concussion protocol. And that wasn't happening before when these original rules were made on dressing 50. I mean, on active rosters being 53. And I get it on what why you would decide to use a 5th string cornerback on your roster instead of a third quarterback to get them reps, and then also put them on special teams and all sorts of different things. But at the same time here, and I'm going to come right back to you, Corey, is that having NFC Championship or a playoff game where there's not 12 other games going on in the NFL, this is the one that everybody is watching, and to have to sit through 3/4 of them not being able to throw the ball 10 yards down the field is not good for football. It's not good for the audience. It's not good for the advertisers that are spending millions of dollars for commercials. It's just not a good look for the league. And then on top of that, if we really are preaching this whole thing about player safety, player safety is number one. Player safety, concussion protocol, all this. Then, pony up the dough and make it so that they have to have 3 active quarterbacks. Not saying that 3 active quarterbacks would be great if they put in the person that was behind Josh Johnson, but still they would have been able to throw the ball 10 yards down the field. Back to you, Corey.
I have to say this, though. The NFL pundits, at the beginning of the year, they're always inaccurate, but they got it right this year. At the beginning of the year, I remember hearing a lot of them saying Philadelphia is the best team in the NFL, the most complete team, and they were looking for them to really make a jump, and they did. And
why were we the 8th team favored to win this, to go to the Super Bowl, or to win the Super Bowl? Then, if we're so good, and I agree with you that was what was being said around the rest of the roster, but it was all based upon one person. And who was that, Corey?
Who? Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
he was going to perform. And
how was he going to perform?
He played poised. He played in control. The whole year, I can say he really took a massive leap. And on the flip side, the pundit said the worst team would be the Chicago Bears, and they would win 3 games. And, me being a Bears fan, I didn't know they were going to unload everybody totally, from Roquan to Robert Quinn to everybody, but
Percy, we're gonna make a button. We're gonna make a button in here that says, "Here come the Bears," because Corey can't help it. He cannot help it. Every week it's like, "Here come the Bears."
Hey, I'm just saying the pundits were right. They said they would be the worst team. They won 3. They said predicted to win 3 games. They won 3 games. I'm giving these guys credit on their accuracy at the beginning of the year, because they called it just how it was. So back to San Francisco. Now, Kyle Shanahan, we know he's a brilliant play caller, but when that situation happened, I was just confused. If Purdy can't throw that ball, and I'm not saying don't even have him in there to hand the ball off. Just some of the runs, they were, I guess Deebo Samuel was 6 rushes for -9 yards. And he kept doing the same type of, you can't reverse and be doing reverses and all that stuff on a defense like Philly with all of that speed. I think they should have lined straight up and ran and hit them straight in the mouth and tried their best to wear them down, because McCaffrey had a decent day. He ran 15 times for 86 yards or something like that. So
84 yards, yeah.
84. So he didn't do bad. I just think that it was too much, running on the outside on a defense like this with speed. It's just not going to work. I just think they should have really lined up and hit them in the mouth. I think they should have ran some wildcat option with McCaffrey, since he was doing somewhat decent I mean, I don't think it's anything they could have done, but man,
they could have done something different than what
yeah,
they were
it just got so, like you said, 3/4 of that. Man, it was horrible to watch.
It was
Yeah.
over from the minute. Okay, so first things first, like what Ryan said. I mean, look, Brock Purdy, what did he win? 9 games in a row. Rookie, won 2 playoff games at home. He did everything that you could possibly ask.
Mhm.
Asking him to go into an away game to any stadium, especially something like Philadelphia or Chicago, New York, Oakland. I mean, big state of Dallas, big fan bases. And you have a chance to play for a Super Bowl. Asking a rookie 7th round quarterback to come in there and win that game is a lot to begin with. Number one. Number two, they definitely weren't expecting him to go down in the first series of the game and have to turn to their 4th string quarterback. I mean, this is unbelievable. The quarterback room in San Francisco looks like hospice care. And yeah, I mean, it's bad. It's just bad. And then to have your defense start here's where I was telling you, Corey, the other day where I feel that they made their biggest mistake, San Francisco. So obviously the catch, we'll talk about the catch in a little bit, but we go up 7-0. They eventually come back. Christian McCaffrey trucks somebody at the 10-yard line, runs it in like a beast. It's 7-7. We come back down after 2 drives of punting and then score a touchdown, I believe, with about 2 minutes and 10 seconds left in the first half. When they got the ball, I remember this specifically. They threw I was thinking, are they going to just down it and take it into halftime, or are they going to try to do something here? And they threw the first pass. It was a first down, and you could hear the announcer say, well, they got a first down on the first one. The next play, I think with about 1 minute and 45 seconds left, I believe they were at the Eagles 30-yard line. Not the Eagles 30-yard line, their own 30-yard line. Fumbled snap by Josh, and we get the ball with about 1 minute and 45 seconds left. Go down, put it in. We're up 21-7. I think that sequence right there, us scoring, having the long drive, I believe it was a 6-minute drive of running, and they had three penalties on that drive, a couple holdings on which they were holdings, like they were bad. Having 3 penalties, we score, but then to be with 1 minute and 45 seconds left and not just run it out, I think that if playing revisionist history, and I understand, the analytics will tell you to go, but you have your backup quarterback in. Your defense has held Philadelphia to only 14 points. You have 7. You've managed to score. It's not your backup quarterback. It's your 4th string quarterback. You've managed to score. You're down 7. You got the ball at the opposite 30, or you're 30. So you're 70 yards away from scoring. Is it time to kind of go to you, Percy? Is it time to kind of down the ball and take it into halftime and be grateful you're down 7, or push the envelope and we see what happens?
I mean, I would say get to halftime, try to make your adjustments. It's obviously easier to say that now after seeing what happened. But I mean, you have no quarterback at this point. I think you get to the halftime, try your best to game plan, but we saw what the game plan was, and the game plan was McCaffrey, Debo left, Debo right.
Corey, what do you think?
I think it was huge. I agree with you. That was a pivotal point in that game. They should have went in down 7, at the half, and maybe made your adjustments with Josh Johnson, the type of plays that he could actually pull off, being the 4th string quarterback, and geared towards some of his strengths and stay away from some of the weaknesses he had. More importantly, what about this? So now Purdy's hurt. Going into next season with Trey Lance coming off the mend, now Purdy coming off the mend, Garoppolo's gone, right?
He's a free agent.
I mean,
he's a free agent that they can't franchise tag.
But what if no one else sort of jumps at Garoppolo? Would you bring him back for another year?
No.
No.
Just because now you didn't want to bring Garoppolo back when you had Trey Fields. The only reason you were forced to was just in case Trey got hurt. Trey Lance, sorry. If now that you have two rookie, let's talk about that. Because I do want to talk about that.
I mean,
no. I want to because this is important and I want to talk about it. Is that the game now is salary cap game, right? And if you're just looking at the analytics alone, I mean, the blueprint has been shown. 3 of the 4 quarterbacks that were in the championships games, the AFC and the NFC, are on rookie contracts. I'll say that again. 3 of the 4 teams that are in the championship games are on rookie contracts. What does that mean? That means that, and the other one was a person who has gone to 3 Super Bowls out of 5 starting years and won one and is about to win his second MVP. So the blueprint, and this is just my opinion, if you guys want to dive into some real deep strategy, the blueprint is being laid out here, which is simple. It is that if you aren't going, and this is the whole reason why I wouldn't give Lamar Jackson the contract, or why Russell Wilson is going to be considered one of the worst contracts, or even we can start talking about Dak Prescott. We can even go into, Kyle Murray from Arizona. And the problem here is that they have taken the quarterback value so high and made it so some of these quarterbacks, it's just expected that they're going to get $50 million a year at 5 years, $250 million. I mean, that's what Lamar is asking for. That's what Deshaun Watson got. Tell me if they like that contract in 2 years. Is that if you don't have a Josh Allen or a Joe Burrow or a Patrick Mahomes, a quarterback for that 5 years on that contract that you're signing him for, the ability for him to be a top 5 quarterback every year, I think the blueprint is being set here to where you draft a quarterback and you try to build the team around him while he is in his rookie contract and try to get that run in while he's in his rookie contract. We did the year that we won the Super Bowl. Think about it. That was Carson Wentz's second year out there. And believe it or not, he was having an MVP season up to week 13. We look back on that now as revisionist history, but that was the case. Nick Foles was getting paid like $9 million a year. That's why we were able to get everybody on the pass rush. That's why we were able to get Alshon Jeffrey. That's why we had that offensive line that was brutal and beast. We had Zach Ertz at that time, who was one of the best tight ends in the league. And you fast forward to this, and shout out to Howie, bro, the GM of the Philadelphia Eagles, because people are riding him so much about him not taking Jefferson, and he took a Rieger before Jefferson in that draft. We could have easily had Justin Jefferson from the Minnesota Vikings, but we didn't, and we blew that first round pick. But do you know who we picked in the second round? Jalen Hurts. So when you have a quarterback that is on his rookie contract, rewind 11 years ago when this started with Russell Wilson, who won a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. When you have a quarterback that's in that rookie contract in that first 5-year deal, and you're getting him for a massive discount, only $9, $10, $12 million a year for the first round picks. But if you go back and you say, okay, it's a second round pick like Jalen Hurts, you're talking $3-4 million a year, if that. I think he's a $25 million contract. So what happens? We go out and we sign A.J. Brown. We beefing up the offensive line. We beefing up the defensive line and Riddick. We go out and get another cornerback. We go and make the trade that we didn't have to make with New Orleans to bring the safety in because we have the cap room to do it. That's why when I'm such a hater so much about Chicago, but Chicago's actually doing it the right way. If they get that quarterback to play like how Jalen Hurts played, just so under control. Like, he had like an MVP type season, but it was more of like, I'm just composed, under control. We can beat you running the ball. We can beat you throwing the ball. I don't have to throw it 50 yards down the field. I'm going to give it to AJ Brown. I'm going to dump it off to Devontae Smith, who was a top 15 receiver this year. You start Goddard. You see Miles Sanders in the backfield, Brightwell in the backfield. You start looking around and you're like, damn, this with the offensive line, it's like, man, is this the way that you build it? Ryan, what do you think?
I think you're exactly right, but I think this is more to do with Philly's Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, but I also don't think he didn't light it up, and he didn't have to light it up, and that's the luxury you have when you draft really well and you build a solid interior offensive line. And
But remember Russell Wilson didn't have to light it up.
right.
And
Exactly.
when Nick Foles did it, he really didn't light it up until
Right.
he just decided to go nuclear on Tom Brady for some reason that day, and it was
Right.
crazy.
Right. I'm not taking anything away from quarterbacks or Jalen Hurts, but when you protect your asset, your most valuable asset, which is the quarterback position, or in my opinion, the center position, only two positions that touch the ball every single play. But I think when you have Landon Dickerson on the interior of the offensive line, when you got Travis Kelce at center, when you got Lane Johnson, these are three of the best offensive linemen in the league, no doubt. So, I know they were talking about the banged up shoulder and all that as well. I think they really wanted to come in and run the football, which they did with Miles Sanders, Gainwell, and Scott. He had a great game as well. I think they did really in spreading them out and running the football. That's what the Eagles are really good at, is spacing you out and running the football, and then throwing when you take people, stack the box with those outside weapons. But yeah, I think you're exactly right, Robert. That's where the blueprint is headed. You get more of your people forget this is a business. They're looking for return on investment, not just handing out contracts. This isn't, I want people to get paid for their efforts and what they're valued at. But this isn't a charity. Like you're going to have to, they want to make as much money as possible off of the rookie contract because that increases their ROI and increases revenue. That's what they want. And as a business, that's success.
Mhm.
So but when
You look at like the team like Dallas right now, and it's like, man, you guys definitely could have used Amari Cooper in that damn
absolutely.
like in that last round. Like Amari Cooper might have been able to make a difference.
Yeah.
It's not about that. Would Dak have been able to get him the ball?
No, but that's the thing is he probably would have been a little bit more open. It's all about your weapons, right? Like Jalen Hurts has weapons. I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts didn't play really well, but I bet you if you just put an average receiving core out there, that it's not the same. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith were both top 15 receivers in the league this year.
Mhm.
Not to mention Goddard, which was a top 10 tight end, and you have the best offensive line in the league. That helps tremendously when you're looking at how Jalen Hurts is playing. Now, he took his lumps last year, right?
Mhm.
He started 3 or 4 games the year Carson Wentz started acting the way he did. And then he took his lumps his second year with getting all the way to the playoffs and playing against Tom Brady. I think he won his last 6, except for losing for Tom Brady. And then he just comes out this year. They get AJ Brown. They get the Devontae Smith is in his. Devontae Smith gets into his 3rd season. Goddard re-signs. They put that offensive line around him, and it's like, whoa, things changed very quickly. So I'm just saying that, like, you look at some of the teams around the league, and it's like they just had to make this adjustment with Patrick Mahomes. But Patrick Mahomes overcame it. They had to say goodbye to Tyreek Hill. Now, some people would say that wasn't just because of the money, but still, if they had the money, they had to start paying. I think Mahomes, this is his first year where he made the $50 million, right?
Yeah.
This is his first year after his rookie contract.
Mhm.
Bye-bye. Tyreek Hill, right? We got to go get, and Andy Reid knows, they know what they're doing. So they went and got the defense right, and now they got a top 5 defense in the league. They know what they're doing. But all I'm saying is that, to your point, Corey, to answer your question, your original question, I'm gonna come right back to you, is that you have to stay with Purdy and and Lance because of just the contract, from a contract situation. And if I was San Francisco, I would try to be finding a way. It sucks that he hurt himself. it changes things that he hurt himself for 6 months, but he's going to be back for the preseason. He's done enough, in my opinion, to earn his starting position next year. Purdy has done enough.
Has he?
Yes. You're 9-1.
Over Trey Lance?
Yes.
I mean,
Trey
hold
Lance
on. When will Trey Lance be healthy?
He'll be there for preseason.
He will be ready, right, when the season starts?
Yeah.
He's got to play some games to get my trust. That's just how the league works, in my opinion.
But would you really? I mean, from a money perspective, I guess you have to start Trey Lance, but unless they don't trade him. But Purdy,
that's where I'm coming from, the money perspective.
Purdy did enough to start, and if I was Shanahan, I mean, he went. What did he go 9-1? And he won
you
2
can't
playoff
lose your
games?
position to injury, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, that happened. Ask New Orleans about that. What's his name?
Jameis
Winston. Ask him if you can lose your job because of an injury. But this is different. This is you have a quarterback that was drafted in the top 3 that you traded so much draft capital for. You traded 3 first-round picks for him. I think you have to see if he's playing or not. But, however, that San Francisco team is not some young bucks. They're old, and they want to win now. You have McCaffrey, you have Warner, you have older players on that roster that aren't looking for your rebuild. Like, have Trey Lance go out there and lose a game or two. I mean, I think Purdy has not only done enough to earn his spot, he looked better than Lance. He threw better than Lance. He was better under pressure under Lance. He was better under the blitz under Lance. He was just so much
Lance
better.
didn't have those opportunities, though. He's going to expect to start next season. And
expect is great, but this guy almost took us to the Super. There's an argument that can be made that if he didn't get hurt, that they might have gone to the Super Bowl. There's no way that you would go and bench that
it's
player.
not a bench, it's an open quarterback competition next year. And with the mobility that Trey Lance has, I mean, preseason is vanilla. No one's going to show you anything. So, I mean, with the practices in the preseason and the little silly games in the preseason, you can't really see if Trey Lance has developed or not. So
how many games has he played? I'm going to look this. Let's look up his stat. How many?
Yeah,
I don't know,
3.5.
I don't know, man.
I seen him in the opener this year get smashed.
He has 38 dropbacks, 31 attempts, and 194 passing yards.
He has started 4 games in his career. He is 500.
I mean,
what
year? He's thrown the ball 38 times.
He's 2-2
games. No way.
He's 2-2.
Yeah, but no, I'm saying though. But he's only thrown it. What was his pass attempts on it? How could he have only thrown it 38 times in 3 games?
His average in those 4 games is 55.4 as a QB rating.
I don't know, Corey. I'm not saying that.
I'm just saying, how can you say
that? That's a lot, man. Like that's not good, bro.
Kyle Shanahan has a decision to make.
Sure does.
That isn't good at all.
I just haven't seen enough from Trey Lance to even really do an analysis on what does he do well, what does he do not well. I don't know. He's played less than 5 games.
If you put Purdy ahead of him next year, he's going to 1 out.
Somebody's
no.
Somebody's not going to be there.
He's Mr. Irrelevant. He's just happy right now to be in a position where he's going into a season. Listen, Purdy has a starting job
somewhere
in NFL, somewhere. And if he was smart, he would wait his turn at San Francisco. Percy, what do you think?
We still on this Purdy and Trey?
Yeah.
I think financially you gotta play Trey, but it's gonna be a short leash because, like you guys said, Purdy proved himself already. If he can come back from this injury and not be, don't affect them long term, you almost gotta have a short leash because he's already done it.
Or you do the whole player safety thing and be like, we just want Purdy to 100% heal before we put him out there, but he's got the job. We'll see, but that's very interesting. Very interesting. Um, let's move on to the next game. Let's talk about the game of the week. I know there was only 2 games, but it definitely was the game of the week, and that was the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Cincinnati Bengals 23-20. So many different things about this game. Patrick Mahomes versus Joe Burrow, Part 4. This was a good game. Let's go to you, Percy. What did you think?
Nah, it was a good game, man. It was exactly what most of us expected it to be. Come down to last second. I hats off to Andy Reid and those guys, man. The way Pat moved around on that high ankle sprain, I have no idea how he did it. But I will say this, and we said it last year. I think Corey even spoke on it last week. The Bengals have to get healthy and get offensive linemen. Like, they make phenomenal changes throughout the game and at halftime to slow down the pressure and the sacks. But I mean, he's on the ground way too many times to, put together a good game. They make it happen somehow, some way, but there's no way you're going to be able to keep going through this and expect to get to the Super Bowl each and every year with that O-line playing pitiful the way they're playing, man. I mean, it was a good game on both sides of the ball, man. Everybody played their part. We saw T. Higgins, earlier in the season, we talk about the 3-headed monster they got at receiver, Ryan. Higgins came through. He did his thing. Tyler got hurt, but it didn't matter. But ultimately, if you're starting quarterbacks getting picked up off the ground literally every single play, it's only a matter of time. And that matter of time was that late interception, and then I'll get on to that penalty at the end of the game a little bit later that pretty much sealed the deal. But yeah, great game, man. Great game. Andy Reid's back going against his old team. It's going to be a great storyline.
Ryan?
Yeah, this game was everything that I wanted it to be and more. If this game was a blowout, I would have been pretty disappointed as an NFL fan with the product that we got. Not to knock the league or anything, but this game was what it's supposed to be, right? At this stage. And I just gotta tell you, I've got a strong connection to Mahomes. I know we all know that, but man, I've never seen someone gut through something with things just not going right, being in pain the whole time. I mean, they lost Tony, Schuster, and Hardman all by halftime, and he somehow managed to win this football game with a bum leg. I can't say enough about this guy, really, man. It's hard to explain. I don't think we've ever seen someone burst onto the scene in really that many athletics, not just this league, like this. I mean, this guy's in his first 5 seasons, and he's already a first ballot Hall of Famer. How many people have we said that about in any sport? Maybe, I don't know, maybe Jordan, maybe Gretzky. I don't know, maybe just a few names. It's just incredible. And then that third down play where he's hobbling and just everything he's given, everything he's got, and gets the first down, and then the boneheaded penalty, which we'll talk about probably later. Can't have that. That's as boneheaded as I've seen, and I feel bad for the guy, but I mean, that was just blatant. There's no argument, and I don't want to hear any arguments about it because it's awful. I mean,
that wasn't the ref's fault. They had to throw the flag.
If you don't throw that flag, people are there's going to be some riots.
Yeah, you don't throw the flag.
I mean, their benches were flying everywhere. You had trainers, broken legs.
Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking.
Yeah, but and then they lost all the pieces in the secondary as well, and then they lost Willie Gay for the second half as well, and they still found a way to win and beat Joe Burrow. But Joe Burrow didn't really play as well as I thought he was going to. We saw the turnovers, tip balls, whatever it may be. But a lot of these jump balls that he's throwing to Chase, they were double covered. And he caught a few. He didn't catch a few, and some were interceptions. But I didn't think he played as good as he has been playing this stretch that he's really put on and this run that they're on. And then all of the trash talk. I want to talk about this.
Real quick, Ryan, it's kind of hard to play lights out when someone's on your neck every other second.
I agree.
Do that.
I agree.
Well, when 3 of your starting offensive linemen are out, that's tough.
The entire season or last, we've talked about this on this podcast. This has been a focal point for a long time on this podcast.
Sure.
The Cincinnati offensive line is a problem, and it hasn't been addressed. It's kind of been ignored, actually. And that's going to come home to roost eventually, and it did, especially in that first half. And then I don't know how many countless plays where they drop back, try to run a screen, and he just has to dirt it. On second down. that happened 4 or 5 times. Where it's set hut, look, and you throw it into the dirt. There's nothing he could do about it. Props to the Kansas City defense. But
to Ryan's point, they shouldn't have been calling it Burrowhead then. What do you think this is? Go ahead, Ryan.
And Mike Hilton, I know he coined the phrase. I'm sure he regrets every second of that. And not to mention that he was absolutely burnt toast the entire game by people that we've never even heard of. Some of, I don't even know half the receivers that were in the game in the second half. But there's a lot of talking going on, and when you talk a lot, you're gonna have to eat crow if you get beat, and that happened. And I think there was a lot more focus on the ish talk than the actual football game. And then I think, I know Zach Taylor's a good coach and all of that, but I would have probably honed that down and said, y'all need to quit. Especially with the guys that they have across from us. I don't want to piss these guys off.
Yeah, but that's kind of like
it makes for great theater, but
it does make for great theater, but it's not
the Cincinnati mayor being called a jabroni on national television. He is in shambles.
In my opinion, Ryan, it's kind of like the thing that we miss about sports and everybody being so like under the media, and they want to say like, I love this person and I love this person, I love this person. It's kind of like this is kind of like now going into next year. It's like so Burrow beats you and you beat Burrow. Like I'm really not looking like I'm not even thinking about Josh Allen right now. I'm like, is there going to be like, is this these old like Tyson versus Holyfield 3? Is this going to be like Burrow versus him?
I'm just saying, as a coach, I would be like,
fair.
Really want our guys to focus on what we're doing, but from a fan's perspective, I loved every second of it. That Travis Kelce interview is the greatest piece of television in the last 10 years.
Yeah, when you start, when you like, it's not like you're calling it Burrowhead as some like lame.
It's disrespectful.
Like, you're going in and playing Patrick Mahomes, and I'm not saying that he hasn't lost some, but he's only been in the league. He's only started for 5 years. He's got a Super Bowl, 5 AFC championship games, and a damn MVP.
Let's be real. Let's be real, Rob. Let's be real. I went to Norristown. You went to Methacton, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if Norristown basketball beats you 3 times straight, you don't think it's going to be no talking, pretty much saying we own you? I agree with you. We have to stop. Everyone wants to be friendly. Sports, we watch sports. We have favorite teams like the Bears and stuff like that. To talk junk and get excited, right? That's what we do. Yeah. We're sports fans to be excited and talk junk, etc. Let's get back to that. And that's what was going on. I beat you 3 times already. I don't care how many times you won the game. Ryan, I would pretty much say if you beat me 3 times, you own me. You can say that. That's fair. You can say that.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, Ryan. You can say that.
If
you beat me 3 times, you can say you own me.
It's one thing. It's one thing to say that I own you. It's another thing to call your home stadium that we are about to travel to Burrowhead. It's different because you're talking about all the Kansas
at your place.
I know, but you're talking about all the Kansas City alumni, when you start going after names, like when you start putting jerseys on Rocky. when you start putting jerseys on Rocky.
When your mayor's calling out your starting quarterback.
Yeah. It doesn't. You're doing a lot, and I'm not saying that you don't do it. I'm not saying it's not that we don't like it. We love it, but I'm just saying, like, don't expect it to be like. And to your point, though, Ryan. Like, they lost. But they played hard. That game could have went either way. And if they would have went in there and won that,
okay, thank you.
after talking that kind of trash, it makes it even worse. Like, it makes it very, very difficult. Corey, I know we're gonna wrap this up here. Any thoughts from you on that?
I kind of agree with Ryan, man. I just don't think it's necessary, or it helps you by putting bulletin board material out there. It only energizes the other team and brings them together. And I think it gave Kansas City extra motivation, where if you keep your mouth shut, who knows? I just think it was a shame that the officials played a factor in this game.
Oh,
and
here we go.
I mean, I wanted, it was 2020. I wanted to really see overtime. Unlike the NFC Championship, this was a barn burner. It was everything that we expected. I'm surprised that Cincinnati didn't run the ball more. They had like 13 rushes between both of the backs. P. Ryan, what did he have? 5 rushes, and Mixon had 8. How you gonna run Joe Mixon 8 times?
They were down most of the game, though, Corey. They were down, and you don't want to run the clock. I get what you're saying. I'm not saying to not run it more.
They were down most of the game. They had 63 plays. Kansas City had 66. The Kansas City only had 6 more minutes in the time of possession game. So it was a relatively even game statistic-wise. And I understand they were down, but Joe Burrow was on his back a lot. He was pressured a lot. I think if you would have maybe ran just a few more times, it just maybe it would have been different, but maybe not. I think both teams.
I mean, he wasn't going anywhere. Joe Mixon had 8 rushes for 19 yards. P. Ryan had 5
think
for
both
20.
defenses. I think both defenses actually played well against the run, but you still have to keep running.
Yeah, true.
No matter what, you can't abandon the run game, and I think they did. Ask Joe. I bet if we asked Joe Mixon right now what he thought about the game plan and them giving him the ball 8 times, what do you think he would say?
He'd probably be upset. But
I'm just saying,
it's not like. I mean, on the other team, they had a rusher who had 10. Pacheco had 10 for 26. Like you said, both of them. I mean, it was. It was. We were in. Look, I want the ball in Higgins and Chase's hands. I can't get it in Chase's hands if I'm handing it to you all game. We're in. I mean, Mahomes threw 43 times. I threw 41 times. We gotta throw. We all win the game.
8 rushes, Rob, for your starting running back.
19 yards. You can't even get over 3 yards a game. We've done it 8 times, and they are stuffing you. There's
lots of running backs that need to keep getting it, and they'll bust one for 30 yards. That happens all the time.
Yeah, but that's a lot you're asking for.
That's
a lot you're asking for.
Yeah. Mahomes, I gotta give him credit. He did spread the ball around. He threw to 10 different players, receivers and backs. So I think it was a very even game. And the officials, man, I know that was a late flag at the end, but man, you know how in the NBA or when it gets to the last minute and you say you don't call that call in the last second of the game.
It was too
He
obvious.
still got the first down.
He was 2 feet out of it. It was too obvious. It was too obvious.
Man,
like, if it would have been close, they would have picked it up.
I just wanted to, if he wouldn't have threw that flag and he still would have had, I just wanted to see what would happen.
The stadium would have been on fire.
Now here's the point though. The point is that, like, you could probably get away with a hold. You could probably get away with something else.
Which they did, because there was lots of holds that weren't
right. But the call that's going to get picked up the most, it's like the quarterback is so far out of bounds. Like you don't even, there is no reason. It is huge boneheaded. It's like, it's not even close. Like, it's like, you really messed this up. Like that is so like, don't do that.
And you know,
Like,
I'm here in Ohio, and it's a lot of Bengals fans here. And all they're talking about is how they were robbed by them officials. It's fourth down. You bring them back on. When have we seen that with sports book gambling going on now and the storyline?
We've seen it. We've seen quarterbacks go out of bounds and get hit.
No, I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the other play.
Oh, the third down?
Yeah, the third down, you know, when they brought them back on. When have we seen something so egregious as that? And I'm not a Bengals fan, but if that happened to my team, it's nothing that you could tell me. And I mean, it's a great storyline. Andy Reid playing his old team, even two African American quarterbacks.
But they still got the ball back. They still got the ball back after that, and they had their shot, and they could not get it done. Now, I'm not saying Burrow didn't play.
If that were the Eagles, and that happened to the Eagles, I don't think you would be as complimentary right now.
I would be very disappointed, but they still stopped them a minute later, and we got the ball back. I would have been pissed if we didn't get the ball back. We got the ball back, and then we got held. I mean, we got stopped. Now, this happens, but if I was an Eagles fan right now, or a Bengals fan right now, I would understand. I'd be I'd be more upset about the 15 yards and them kicking the field goal. Actually, I would be very disappointed about that. I'd be livid about that. But also, we had our chances though. Like we had our chances. It's Burrow's third year. I know I got Chase coming back. I know I got Burrow coming back. I know I got Higgins coming back. I'm disappointed.
We need full-time officials in the NFL. The officials, I give them a C- to a D this year.
You're gonna have to bump that pay up then, man.
Hey, up the pay. They pay everything. They pay everybody everything else. What in the women's? What we were talking about earlier, the women's football league. They gave them $10 million plus some money around to some of these officials, so we can get full-time officials, so we won't have these calls that make it look like the games are crooked.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, I think that like this is not an easy. Like that's not an easy job, and also at the same time, is that you have people like us playing revisionist history, but at the end of the day, we're going back and looking at some of the calls because they're coming down to these one individual plays and things like that. But they played for 60 minutes. And yes, there's some calls that are bigger than others and some things that happen. Yeah. But Cincinnati had their chances. They could have got put away in the first half, right? They could have got, Mahomes had that fumble. But no, I'm just saying, like, this could have been over before. It's not like mad and, that they couldn't score. Like, they didn't have the chance to score and win the game. They scored 20 points. They could have won the game. So, but they didn't. But let's wrap this up here, guys. I want to get ready for the preview show, so we won't say anything, but we are going to have a preview show here soon. I thank you, everybody, for joining the Beyond Elevated show today. Mr. Ryan Lillis, you want to close us out here?
Yeah, guys, another good weekend of football, but when we got fewer games to cover, it means it's coming to an end, and I go into a dark, sad football. No disrespect to the other sports, but there's just nothing like it. Whether it be college or pro, I'm a fan of both. So I just had a great time, reviewing the games with you fellas this year, and can't wait to see where we go. But also, I can't wait to see this Super Bowl, man. This is great. Two good quarterbacks, two great quarterbacks in my opinion. Two great teams. And I think this is going to help. The 2-week break is going to help Kansas City get healthy, which is I think we all want to see this, both these teams fully healthy. And I think it'll be fireworks. I think it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, I do too. And we're excited, and we're going to have some recap here on the Beyond Elevated. You're tuning in live. We want to thank you guys so much for coming. We appreciate you, and we will see you soon. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Yep.
See you later, fellas.